Welcome to One Brothas Mind, and I am KD Smooth. Today we will question and challenge popular information and views from a B1 perspective, while we expose the real facts you need. We do this to strengthen your logical, critical, and discerning thinking skills. Because in today's world, hard choices are mandatory and they come with consequences. So you need all the information. And at One Brother's Mind, we do this from a B1 Yeshua the Christ followers perspective. Now, if you're not ready, you better get ready with Katie Smooth at One Brother's Mind.
The time for scared, lip trembling, word changing, self-denying, compromising, knee shaking black people is over. If you have something to say, speak up with authority and conviction. If not, sit down and shut up. We have to have the power to tell the truth, to say whatever is necessary, to do what needs to be done, whatever it is, no matter who it may hurt.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's Katie Smooth coming back at you with a new report. I pray you all are doing well. Shalom, family. In today's report, we are going to discuss this issue. Well, not that issue. Let me try to get it right here quickly. Hold on, almost. My apologies for the technical difficulties. Could have sworn I had that ready to go. Okay, just give me a moment, family. Wow. Cannot believe this. Okay. My apologies, family. Technical difficulties is always something. But anyway, we're going to discuss this issue here tonight on One Brother's Mind. It's a additional installment number 4 in our systematic white supremacy series, a new series that we started here. And in this installment, we are going to discuss the case of the Mississippi white supremacist race soldiers. If you haven't heard, there was 6 white Mississippi police officers that were actually have already pled guilty to torturing and terrorizing for hours 2 so-called black men in Mississippi. Okay? And yeah, we're going to dig into this a little bit this evening. And then we're going to, at the end of this report, we're going to ask some questions that here at One Brother's Mind, we feel we need to start asking. Okay? But if you're not familiar with this case, we're going to show you a couple of clips. Our first report, or really, there'll be 3 clips in total. Our first one, or all of them, are coming from a report done by Democracy Now! They did an excellent job on a report that they did, and we're going to do somewhat a semi-reaction to their report. And in the process, we're going to provide more information as it pertains to what has occurred in Mississippi. Okay? So just before we get started, family, please remember to smash the like button. Share this report on all your social media with all your peoples, and be sure to be subscribed to One Brother's Mind, where we try to bring you the information and facts you need. Okay, This report is focused on two, like I said, two black men, so-called black men. One named Michael Corey Jenkins, and the other name is Eddie Terrell Parker. And this nightmare that they fortunately have survived and lived to tell their story and seek justice through. Okay? So, without further ado, we are going to start off with our first clip, and you'll get up to speed if you have not heard of this case. There's not very much reporting going on about it. And of course, lamestream media is not really going through all of the details. You know, they doing what they normally do. So we're going to really try to provide all the information we have on this in our report here at One Brothas Mind. And we're going to begin that report here right now.
A warning to our audience, this next segment contains descriptions and images of police violence. We turn now to Mississippi, where 6 white former police officers who called themselves the Goon Squad have pleaded guilty to raiding a home and torturing 2 black men earlier this year, after first trying to cover up their actions. Some of the officers face life in prison. On January 24th, court records show the deputies raided a home in Braxton, Mississippi, after a white neighbor of one of the officers called him to complain there were black men staying there. The officer texted the others, quote, "Are y'all available for a mission?" That night, without a warrant, the officers burst into the home, handcuffed, beat, tasered the 2 men, Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker. Also sexually abused them with a sex toy with shouting racial slurs. One of the officers put a gun in Jenkins' mouth for a mock execution and pulled the trigger. The bullet lacerated Jenkins' tongue, broke his jaw, exited through his neck. This is U.S. Attorney Darren LaMarca last week announcing federal charges against the former officers for the attack.
Okay. Yeah, let that sink in, family. You heard it right. These 2 brothers, Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell, have recently gone through this experience with 6 white supremacist race soldier cops in Mississippi. And they, on your screen, they actually thank Yah they live to seek justice and tell their story. Okay? The things that they went through, I mean, you heard it right. One of the officers put his gun inside of Michael Jenkins's mouth and left it there. He left it there for a period of time. Then he pulled the trigger and it lacerated his tongue, broke his jaw, and exited out of his neck. He is most likely has permanent injury from that. Luckily, thank Yah, he was not unalived when that happened, when this whole thing happened. This is an image of him when he was in the hospital right after this happened. And at this time, he appears to be somewhat stable or stabilized, but he's got significant damage and additional health and potential surgeries that he's going to have done trying to further correct and help him improve the damage and harm that was done to him. According to him, you can watch this full report on Democracy Now!, but according to Michael Jenkins, basically the whole left, or let's say right side of his face is basically numb. And it's kind of paralyzed to a certain degree. So, and he's still in consistent, excruciating pain. He barely can talk. His talking has been affected. But again, you can watch this full report here on on Democracy Now! And you'll hear from both Michael Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker in their own words. But yeah, while most of y'all was watching the riverboat attack, it's not a brawl. It was an attack. It was a hate crime attack that occurred. While that really kind of went viral, this report, this story kind of fell back in, didn't go as viral, and it should have. Okay? So at this time, we're going to share our second clip with you and give you some more information, description of what happened from one of the attorneys representing Michael Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker. And then after this clip, we'll come back and chop it up just a little bit more on it. Okay? All right, here we go.
If they would not have participated in a cover-up around Damian Cameron's death.
Okay. What this attorney, Malik Shabazz, is speaking of is this same group of several, let's put it that way, several of the same group of the 6 officers, they had previously participated in another so-called black man's death a couple of years ago. Or Damian Leonard, if I got the name correctly. And it was a cover-up, and they walked. They weren't even charged. The whole thing was covered up, right? So that's what he's speaking about, okay? At this point, let's continue.
Damian Cameron's death is analogous and very similar to George Floyd's death. It was Hunter Elwood and Luke Stickman who put the knees on Damian Cameron's back and on his neck, causing trauma to his neck and causing hemorrhages in both of Damian Cameron's eyes, meaning that the compression on his neck is what led to asphyxiation and his actual cause of death. But the autopsy mysteriously was ruled undetermined. With all of the evidence that I'm saying and all of the gruesome photos of the neck injuries and the hemorrhages of the eyes bulging out of his head, the autopsy finding was mysteriously undetermined. The autopsy itself is missing certain information, and therefore myself and Black Lawyers for Justice, we have our own forensic pathologist who are coming forth shortly to show you that this was a homicide and that.
Okay. Again, he's speaking of a black man that several officers in this group of 6 participated in a previous unaliving. Okay? That's what he's referring to. And specifically, let's put these wonderful gentlemen, race soldiers, on your screen. Here are their names also on your screen. Brett McAuliffe, Jeffrey Middleton, Christian Dedman, Hunter Elward, Danielle, y'all do that last name, Opodike, and Joshua Hartfield. They called themselves in Mississippi the Goon Squad, right? And as was referenced in the first clip, when they went, or prior to going to attack and terrorize Michael Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker, they placed a phone call amongst each other and asked, are y'all ready for, basically another run? Y'all ready for, I forget the word she used, but are y'all ready? They actually had that evidence. These 6 police officers, these white supremacist race soldiers, have been terrorizing and hunting so-called black people in Mississippi for who knows how long. Who knows how many black people have been terrorized by this goon squad over the years. As we move closer and forward to the case that the Michael Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker's attorneys are working on and bring out, more and more information is coming out about not only what they did to Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Parker, but what they did, like I said, to Damian Carter. Or I'm sorry, Damian Carrion. And potentially other cases. This has been going on in Mississippi for quite some time. Okay? Quite some time. Don't miss that, family. In regards to Michael Jenkins and Mr. Eddie Parker, this is what these 6 white supremacist race soldiers did to them. Without a warrant, they burst into the young men's homes, these young black men's homes, and they terrorized them for hours. At gunpoint, they forced them to strip naked. Then they handcuffed and beat them. They tasered them multiple times, hit them with eggs. They actually waterboarded these 2 black men. They actually put dildos, jammed dildos all in their mouths. Of course, they called them the N-word the whole time. Then, as I mentioned before, one of the officers actually put his gun inside Mr. Jenkins's mouth. Then, after a period of time, shot his gun, causing his tongue to be lacerated, his jaw to be broken, and the bullet to exit through Mr. Jenkins's neck. Yeah. This is the work of Satan himself. These 6 white supremacist race soldiers. And they've been doing it for some time now to I'm sure many black people in Mississippi. There's reports from other black people in Mississippi that this Goon squad, they've been known about because they've been doing it for so long. So I fully expect there to be additional cases that are going to come from what they did to Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Parker. There's already one that's been reopened in the unaliving of Damian Cameron. Okay? Yeah, just read what's on your screen. This is some of what they did to them over hours of being terrorized without a warrant. Yeah. Again, Hasatan himself. Just one more time for this to really sink in. These 6 devils did all the things on the right of your screen to 2 human beings. Specifically, 2 so-called black men, young black men. And they've already pleaded guilty. This is not waiting to be fired or waiting for charges. None of that. They have already pleaded guilty. And all of them are facing life in prison. I believe it should be more than that. They should be facing the death penalty, in my opinion, here at One Brothas Mind. These 6 white supremacists. Okay? So let's get a little bit more with our third clip. Again, the reason why, let's finish this one up just a little bit, see if there was some more on that one here. Okay, let's do a little bit more. I'm gonna see if I don't want to miss anything from this report. Here we go.
Rankin County and Brian Bailey refused to provide the state medical examiner with information to reach a proper conclusion because they were all protecting the officers from criminal prosecution. Therefore, the autopsy is suspicious. The autopsy and the efforts to have a genuine autopsy, it was covered up by Rankin County. And Brian Bailey has been a part of this. Ms. Lee is correct. If they hadn't been trying to cover up, if Bailey hadn't been trying to justify his officers, no, he didn't just not train them, he has participated in acts of excessive force with his department, according to the courts. When Hunter Elwood shot Pierre Woods in Rankin County on the ground, and he gunned him and he shot him 9 times with his rifle, and the man was no threat to him. Sheriff Bailey was on the scene, and a federal judge ruled that Bailey could not have qualified immunity because he ratified and watched it all go on in person. And so the truth is coming out about the death of Damian Cameron and how they had the knees on his neck like his mother has testified.
Okay. Again, when he's talking about Bailey, he's talking about the actual sheriff, not these 6 officers. Their boss, basically, has been helping them this entire time cover up what crimes and terrorism that they've been committing. And he's specifically referencing an additional case of the unaliving of a Damian Cameron. I got some more information for you for that, but that's what he's referring to. So it's not just these 6 officers. In my opinion, here at One Brothas Mind, it's that whole white supremacist race soldier police force. Yeah. Let's get a little bit more here. The image on your screen, this is not Michael Corey Jenkins or Eddie Terrell Parker. This is Damian Carrion, the gentleman that he's referring to that they unalived prior. It was back in 2021, prior to what they just more recently did to Michael Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker, the 2 men you saw in the first images on the screen. They unalived this man first, a couple of years ago. And they literally, as he said, they put their knees in so much pressure, I'm going to show you in a minute, on this man's neck. Matter of fact, let me see if that's what I got next here. There. This is the same man that I just showed you on your screen, that they unalived in 2021. This is the Mr. Damian Carrion that the attorney is speaking of. And his mother sought justice for it and was denied. It was covered up, as he was explaining. And if, according to the attorney and Damian Carrion's mother, if that cover-up was not allowed back in 2021, these same Goon Squad officers would not have been able to do what they did to Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker. That's the point that the attorney Malik Shabazz is making. Let's get a little bit more of this. Okay?
Justified by affidavit to, and they had the knees on his neck that crushed the life out of Damian Cameron, and they did nothing about it. They've lied to us, but we're going to bring that case. That case is coming back to life. Rankin County is infested with white supremacists. Ku Klux Klan, they infiltrated the sheriff's department. Brian Bailey has known about this. Many of these criminals were on duty up until June 1st, only through the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation and U.S. Department of Justice leader Kristen Clark and her Southern District in Mississippi, who've done a great job. Only through their efforts has Brian Bailey, sheriff, trying to come to some remorse. He has not even apologized to the victims. We demand that Brian Bailey step down now. He's a part of a pattern of practice and a culture and a custom of terrorism by his department. We have blacks, whites, rich, poor. They have been beaten by his officers. He's known this all along, and the struggle continues. In this case, for compensation for these 2 suffering victims, Jenkins and Parker, but for all of the victims of Rankin County terrorism. It's the #1 county for terrorism and white supremacist infiltration. Case in point, before I close, Christian Dedman. It's coming out, he has family members that have pled guilty in Mississippi to hate crimes. I mean, a lot more is going to come out about this. Rankin County is infested with white supremacists, Ku Klux Klan, and it's in the police departments.
And
okay. Yeah. That's family. There's a whole lot going on in Mississippi. I mean, but most of us, we already know that, but It's been going on for decades, of course, but for all of this, eventually it's going to come to the surface, and we knew that. But again, this story has pretty much taken a back seat in the media due to the riverboat attack that occurred. This story needs just the same amount of reporting that we're doing on, many of us are doing on the riverboat attack. This report needs to be shared. So just as much. So please, family, again, smash the likes, share this report on all your social media with all your peoples. And be sure to be subscribed to One Brothas Mind, where we're trying to bring you the information and facts you need. Again, this is the image of Damian Cameron, the black man that they unalived in 2021. These 6 officers that you saw, I showed you on the screen, right? They did that in 2021. Then, here recently, they've just pled guilty to doing what they did to Michael Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Parker. Again, systematic white supremacy. If the entire police force are white supremacists, how is there supposed to be justice? How are they supposed to protect and serve, especially minorities or so-called black people? How? Oh, it's supposed to be just one bad apple, right? I don't think so. Again, to my white listeners, this is what we so-called black people are speaking of when we refer to systematic white supremacy. This was and is an entire system that has been set up in Mississippi. It's been there for decades. I would argue centuries, hundreds of years. It goes all the way back to slavery. This is the system that's in place. They've been doing this type of stuff for so long and getting away with it, covering it up, lying. The officers, the sheriff, the police captains, all of them. Somehow, this sheriff, after these 6 officers have pled guilty, this sheriff still is the sheriff. Right now today, it's still the sheriff. Why hasn't he been arrested and charged, at the very least? And the rest of them. Why hasn't the federal government come down and shut down this entire so-called police force and investigate every case that they've dealt with over the years? Why is that not happening? Because again, the Goon Squad, they've been doing this for some years. There's not nothing new. This is standard practice for them. And the sheriff. So And this Mississippi police force was not just 6 officers. There were many other officers on this same force. You'd think those officers didn't also participate in the same approach to policing and handling of so-called black people in Mississippi? Yeah. Let's just humor me. Let's just say they didn't. They knew about it. They may not have participated in what was happening themselves, but they knew about it. And if they knew about it, the rest of them, they're police officers. They were literally supposed to arrest these 6 devils the minute they discovered what they were doing if they weren't involved. But did that happen? Nope. Again, it's not just these 6 cops. So, actually, I got one more clip I want to share with you. Bear with me, family. Got one more clip that I want to share with you. And then we will move forward after this additional clip. Here we go.
After the attack, Michael Corey Jenkins was actually charged with a felony based on methamphetamine the officers said they found in the raid. But records show that was a lie, and the charge was dropped. In fact, the deputies planted drugs to devise an excuse for the raid and also stole surveillance video from the house. Their body cameras were off. Court documents said the officers used the name Goon Squad, quote, because of their willingness to use excessive force and not to report it. The Associated Press found the deputies were linked to at least 4 violent attacks on black men since 2019. 2 of the men died. For more, we're joined by Michael Corey Jenkins and Eddie Terrell Park.
Yeah, family. As I said, this has been going on a long time. This Goon Squad, these devils, these white supremacists. And again, to my white listeners, this, what you're looking at on your screen, is an example of systematic white supremacy. A lot of our white brothers and sisters, they get all upset when black people are having a discussion with them and we are actually discussing or attempting to discuss systematic white supremacy and racism. Systematic stuff. Most of our white brothers and sisters, they take it personally. So, to my white listeners, your face ain't on this picture. Because it's not about you. Systematic white supremacy. You may not be practicing white supremacy. You may not be practicing racism. But that doesn't mean that systematic white supremacy is not still ongoing. Whether it's the police force, law enforcement, the judicial system, the educational system. You got DeSantis down there in Florida just literally making up new history as he goes. That's systematic white supremacy. They're literally just lying and saying, oh, this is what we get to teach the students in the school system now. That's another example of systematic white supremacy. I'm actually going to do a report on that here soon. Keep a lookout for that. Again, make sure you're subscribed so you get the alerts when we post new content here at One Brothas Mind. Okay? So, with all of that going on and happening in Mississippi, again, please share this report. It needs to get just as much attention and to go just as viral as the riverboat attack, because there's a whole lot going on in Mississippi. And if you think or if you forgot about what else is going on in Mississippi, let's take a short little look to see what else is also going on in Mississippi at the exact same time that the Goon Squad has been terrorizing black residents. Oh yeah, here's another report that we did here at One Brothas Mind out of Jackson, Mississippi, where they tried to draw new district lines, okay, so that a small, predominantly white enclave next to Jackson, Mississippi, could completely throw out the votes and voting power of the mostly black residents in Jackson, Mississippi. They can just disregard those who the residents in Jackson, Mississippi are electing, because they can't beat them at the ballot. Jackson, Mississippi is predominantly black, right? So they came up with this new systematic white supremacist "I'm white not say so" rules to say, well, this small white area north of Jackson, Mississippi gets to decide and appoint the judges, the sheriffs, and the other officials in Jackson, Mississippi, completely disregarding the officials that the residents of Jackson, Mississippi, predominantly black Jackson, Mississippi, have elected. So it doesn't matter who they elect in Jackson, Mississippi, which they're electing black representatives, black judges, and so on and so forth, right? The smaller, predominantly white area just magically gets to say, no, don't worry about who y'all voted for. We're going to appoint who we say are the authorities in Jackson, Mississippi. They literally are trying to do this in Mississippi. This is a report I did on One Brothas Mind right here. You can go there where I go into much more detail about this issue that's happening at the same time in Mississippi, right? The good old "I'm white and I say so" laws, right? What else is going on during these same last few years in Jackson, Mississippi? Oh, your boy. Yeah, Brett Favre, who they have proof stole $5 million from the welfare program in Mississippi that was supposed to go to the needy. He stole it with the help of the other elected officials, many other elected officials in Mississippi. Built a volleyball arena for his daughter at his daughter's college. He still has not been arrested and charged. This happened months ago. They just stole the money. They got his text messages. They know who he was communicating with, including the previous Mississippi official there on the left. There's been a couple of few of them, lower ranking Mississippi officials that have taken pleas and pleaded guilty to some of the stuff, but they ain't touched these guys, which also include the WWE wrestler Ted DiBiase. Don't forget him. He was in on this scam too. They haven't touched them. They still ain't been. Why? What could it be? What could be the reason why white people in Mississippi they have proof of committing heinous crimes that affect hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, especially black people in Mississippi? What could be the reason why they have not been arrested, charged, being prosecuted? Can we say systematic white supremacy? The good old I'm white and I say so laws? Yeah. There's a lot going on in Mississippi. And don't forget about the recent water crisis with the Mississippi water plant that supplied the water to the predominantly black area in Mississippi that magically didn't have the funding to upgrade and maintain their systems, and residents in the black area, I want to say it's Jackson in Mississippi, went a significant period of time without clean water. Hey, don't forget that one. That's going on in Mississippi too. Systematic white supremacy. Law enforcement terrorism, political terrorism, environmental terrorism of the so-called black citizens there in Mississippi. So the point that I'm making here, family, is on your screen. They, especially specifically in this report, speaking of the white supremacist race soldiers, they are hunting us. What you gonna do about it? Yeah. I mean, at this point, family, with all the things that, with this happening and all the other things that are going on that we all are watching and just being overwhelmed with on social media, what have you, that are being reported. And that's just the stuff that's being reported or captured on video. For every one report you're seeing, there are many others that are going unreported, that are not going viral as they should, that may not be caught on recording. They're still happening. So my question to you, family, is remaining neutral on these issues and not, especially for those of us descendants of slaves, so-called foundational black Americans, descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, and in my opinion, here at One Brothas Mind, the true blood descendants of the Israelite tribe of Judah. Us not maintaining self-defense is only going to continue to result in losing our freedoms and maybe our lives. Right? So here's some questions that I have. Has the time come after over 400 years of these deletions, these unalives, these attacks, these beatings, these grapes? After over 400 years of these things, has the time come for us to start defending ourselves and our lives from their so-called officers? Has that time come? Or if not, when is that time going to come? I mean, the image on your screen, y'all should remember this. This is the image from our brother, what they did to our brother Terry Nichols. They're in Memphis. 5, 6 black officers. They were a goon squad. I forget what their name was, what they called themselves. Same thing. Going out terrorizing so-called black people. It's not just in Mississippi, is my point. This systematic white supremacist race soldier terrorism is happening and has been happening in every state in America, in most cities across America, for centuries, frankly, over 400 years. So when is the time to defend ourselves going to come, or has it arrived? Has the time arrived for us, so-called black people, to defend ourselves from the white supremacist race soldiers? And yes, the so-called black officers in the Terry Nichols situation, they're white supremacist race soldiers also. Just because their skin is black don't mean nothing. Am I saying all cops are white supremacist race soldiers? No. But the majority of them are. And the ones that are not, they're, in my opinion here, One Brothas Mind, they're just as guilty because they know about them. And most are not doing anything to stop them. They're not arresting them and executing justice against the demonic criminals, the white supremacist race soldiers within their departments. They're not doing nothing. The system is so corrupt. For every one or two officers that do rarely speak out or try to say something or do something, they're being attacked. They're being left vulnerable without backup. So they're scared. And in most cases, once that type of stuff starts happening, they just leave the force because they're worried and afraid for their own lives. That's how bad it is across the entire United States. So again, I ask, has the time arrived yet for us as so-called black people to defend ourselves and our lives from the white supremacy that's within the so-called law enforcement across the United States? Has that time arrived? Or are we just gonna keep doing this? Is that what we're doing? I mean, I'm gonna ask you, is this what we're gonna just keep doing? I mean, because we've been doing this for over 400 years, most of us. And how's that working out for us all throughout this time? How's that really working out for us? Is it getting better? Is it helping us? Or are we still being deleted, unalived, raped, beaten, attacked, stomped? And much, much more. There's stories that have come out of, like I said, it's all over the United States. Few years back in Chicago, they literally have the race soldiers there have black sites in Chicago where they would arrest people and don't take them to jail. They take them to the black sites and torture them. How long are we going to continue to do this? And even when we're doing this, most of the time, what do the race soldiers do? They still shoot us in the back and unalive us. We are no threat when we're running away. And how many of them have gone to prison, been convicted for long terms for deleting us when we're running away? Yeah. Over 400 years. Is today the day that we start defending ourselves against their white supremacist race soldier cops? I'm just asking a question, Mr. YouTube, man. Don't get mad at me. I'm just asking questions. I'm not recommending anything to anyone. I'm just asking. Just asking a question. Or is it time for us to once again do these types of things on your screen? Because it's not like over this whole time we've never decided enough is enough and started to defend ourselves and our lives and our families. It's not like it's never happened. That's what, going all the way back to slavery, that's what all the so-called slave revolts and uprisings were about. That was us defending ourselves, taking action with whatever we could find and get in our hands. Whatever. Even if it was just a big stick. Or, as you see on your screen, in various different times in history, many of us have decided to get our power tools and say no more. Yeah. And, more recently, there's been a few pull-ups that have occurred. Shouldn't there be more pull-ups that are occurring? I mean, with the Goon squad I just showed you, they somewhere in the community. I mean, not today specifically because they've pled guilty and they're in jail. These 6 are in jail, but like the attorney Malik Shabazz said, one of the officers in the Goon squad has family members that's also been convicted of hate crime. Where are the pull-ups happening? Why they're not happening? Because it's not just those 6 race soldiers. It's not. Why is the sheriff still the sheriff and nobody's pulled up on, we ain't pulled up on him yet? At the very least. I mean, really. Again, didn't Malcolm X say that self-defense is not violence, it's intelligence? Yeah. I offer you this from Yah's word. Speaking of the enemies of Yah's chosen people, the enemies who hate us worldwide, including white supremacy, white supremacist race soldiers all throughout the United States. John chapter 8, verse 44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer, speaking of your father, from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. At this time, family, we're going to have a short, brief commercial break from our unofficial sponsor for this broadcast. And after that commercial break, we will return and continue. At this time, a word from our unofficial sponsor. And a special shout out to Professor Black Truth. If you're not familiar with Professor Black Truth's YouTube channel, I strongly encourage you to go search Professor Black Truth up and subscribe to his channel as well. He provides high quality reporting as a part of the B1 community. And now, a word from our unofficial sponsor.
A word from the official sponsor of Black Empowerment, Power Tools. There's no telling when something's going to come up, so make sure you carry your power tools at all times. You never know when you're going to need to bring the hammer down, or when you'll have some trash that needs to be blown away, or some obstacle that requires cutting down. Don't get caught empty-handed. Keep your hammer close by. Keep that leaf blower at the ready. And always carry your steel. Power Tools. Because no matter what your day job or side hustle may be, there's no excuse for not being ready to put in some work.
All right. So I got a couple of additional questions, family, that I want to and believe we need to be asking. One, should all so-called black people, especially foundational black Americans here in the U.S., isn't it time, or is it not time for all of us to always have our power tools with us everywhere we go? For self-defense, of course. In addition, for those of us that are licensed power tool owners, why or shouldn't we have the ability to attach our power tool license digitally to our vehicle license plates? The reason why I'm asking that is so that anytime if our power tool licenses are attached to our vehicle license plates, being that we carry our power tools at all times, wouldn't that be better so that when and if we are actually pulled over for some traffic issue, the officer, while the officer is still safe and pulled over in, safe in their vehicle when they pull us over, not only do they pull up our license plate information with the information that's listed there and the status of our driver's license and things of that nature, they also see, hey, they're notified right in their car before they ever get out of their car. This owner of this vehicle that's attached to this license plate is a licensed power tool carrier. Specifically so they know that before they get out their car. So they don't have to come up to the side of your vehicle asking crazy questions. They already know. They've already seen your power tool license. So they don't even have to ask for it. They already know, right? Why isn't that already in place? Because y'all know many times, most of the times, they walk up to cars and what do? Do you have any power tools in your vehicle? And here we are stuck going, here's my license. I'm a licensed carrier. We go through all this song and dance. And as soon as they confirm you have a license, what's the next thing they do? Well, where is your power tool? Is it on you? Or is it somewhere else in the car? Their whole focus at that point is to disarm us. Right? And they lie like the devils I just showed you they are. Well, this is for your safety and my safety. No, it's not. Having our power tools with us and on us and ready to put in work is for our safety. Right? I'm just asking questions. Is it not time then, therefore, for us as a collective community, the so-called Black community, to notify every state in the United States and every city in the United States, all of the so-called elected officials, law enforcement, everybody? Is it not time for us to stand together, get on code, and notify them that we are licensed power tool carriers? And if or when asked by race soldiers about our power tools or to surrender our power tools, is it not time for us to notify them that we will no longer surrender our power tools to their race soldier officers? Is it not time for that to occur? No. Write your ticket, do whatever else you got to do, but I'm not. No. I'm keeping my power tool with me. And at that point, Is it also not time to include in that notification that at that point in the situation that we going forward are going to match their race soldiers' energy and actions from that point? If they de-escalate, we'll de-escalate. If they escalate, we're going to escalate. If they jump down and draw down on us or pointing at us, we're going to match whatever they do. Everything that they do, we're going to do. Is it not time for that? I know what some of you are thinking. It's like, man, that's just going to make a whole lot of situations worse. How? How is it going to make the outcomes worse for us than what's already happening? What happened to our brothers here in Mississippi? Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker, they were at home, inside their home, and these race soldiers just busted up in their homes. If they had power tools, at the very least, they would not have been tortured for hours, right? Because if you're in your home and somebody busts in unannounced without a warrant, what are you going to do? Exactly. Especially you got your power tools, right? So things, let's say, would have definitely went different. They could have been, things could have went worse, or things could have actually went better. Potentially, these Goon Squad race soldiers might have actually backed up a little bit. So hold on, we got to come up with another plan. Giving Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Parker some time potentially to make some emergency phone calls with their cell phones. Say, hey, hooty hoo, throw your hat, that throw they fitted up in the air, so to speak. Right? I mean, do you think this Goon Squad, if they busted up or attempted to bust up in Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Parker's home without a warrant, and the Goon Squad came to the quick realization that Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Parker had their power tools? I mean, they received confirmation that they had them. Do you think they might have paused, the Goon Squad would have went on pause for a little bit? I think so. And imagine if that pause was long enough for Mr. Jenkins and Mr. Parker to, like I said, throw their fitted hat up, if you will, put out the hooty hoo call, whatever you want to call it. And then while the Goon Squad was on pause trying to come up with a more safer plan for what they were there to do, all of a sudden they turned around behind them and realized the Goon Squad was surrounded. I mean, that's a potential outcome, right? It's just an option. Like I said, it could go much worse in the wrong direction, or it could go in a more positive outcome direction, like I just explained. I mean, similar to our sister Breonna Taylor's situation, another Goon Squad. These things are happening all over the United States. And these are just cases that you have heard about. There's many more that we've not heard about. That's not being reported. But with the case and situation with our sister Breonna Taylor, at least the brother that was there with her, at least he had an opportunity. He had his power tools. He took the opportunity to attempt to defend himself and Breonna Taylor. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But let's say he didn't have his power tool at all. Would that outcome had been any different? It's debatable. So ultimately, that's my question to you, family. When the devil comes for you, which is better? To just curl up and surrender and allow yourself to be unalive, beaten, or tortured, and just be a victim? Or exercise your human Yah-given right at self-defense, hoping to achieve a better outcome? Because the consistent factor is sooner or later, the devil, or many of these devils, are going to come for us all. That's basically what's just happening. Like I said, we're being hunted. Literally. So, is it not time for us to start defending ourselves? Yeah. Y'all let me know what you think, family. I'm just asking questions, Mr. YouTube man. I'm not condoning anything. I'm not telling nobody to do nothing. But in my opinion here, One Brothas Mind, it's time for us to start at least having the discussions, considering what our responses are going to be. Are they going to continue to be the same, surrender and get terrorized responses, or are we going to respond differently, hoping for better outcomes? That's my main question. Yeah. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments on this report. Please help make this report go viral, this story. Just as viral as the riverboat attack. Right? And if y'all got a better solution, or even if y'all disagree with whether or not we should be defending ourselves with our power tools against the race soldiers, leave it in the comments. Let's discuss it. I believe here, One Brothas Mind, that it is time, at least for those discussions to be occurring. And this concludes this broadcast for One Brothas Mind. We thank you for joining us. And as a part of the new Black media, B1 choices are mandatory, and being on code is required. But never fear, Yeshua the Christ is with you always. Shalom.